Okay, well, here we are back with Covert Reality, and I am your host, Chad Kazerman. I am not used to being a host. I don't even want to say my name. I'd rather just say this is Covert Reality, and I couldn't be happier to be back again on a Friday, November the 18th. And we have a special guest today. Jolie Diane is on Covert Reality again. We are happy to have her back. We always have a great conversation. We always get a lot of stuff out, and we tend to make a lot of sense because there's been a lot of things going on. We got to keep the eye very close on to how these programs of weather modification and geoengineering end up being more than just weather modification. They are invasive to our ecosystem, our bodies, and many other things that depend on life itself. They depend on the sun to just have the direct sun hit wherever it needs to hit without anything sprayed in between it. Now, I want to start off by saying this, and if my friend is listening today, which I don't know, I think he's working during the day, but he might be tuning in. He had mentioned to me, his name is Jared, he had mentioned to me Tuesday, yeah, hey man, I heard next week, this Friday is supposed to be like plus 25. And this was on Tuesday. I said, oh, hey, that's interesting. I said, well, how about right now? I'll call it right now. It won't really be a real natural plus 25. I bet you any money it'll be artificial, and it will spray like crazy that day, and which is today. And guess what? If you're in Waterloo Region or Southern Ontario, you are being blasted by science and a bunch of disgusting people that are trying to manipulate us on a degree of a scale that is beyond most scales. And that's why a lot of people have a hard time believing that this is actually the experiment, the big experiment we're all caught in unwillingly. We didn't ask for any of this, but what I wanted to mention is the way that today people are outside, all the kids and stuff. On my way on the bus here, I feel sad inside because I see a lot of kids and parents and athletes and stuff riding their bikes and feeling good about this. They think it's nice hot weather. And we're literally being sprayed by nanoparticulates, and it's actually causing nerve damage. It's causing our weather to go completely batty. The atmosphere just gets tampered with. It gets heated. When you spray particulate matter into it, you can do a bunch of things. You can heat it or you can cool it. And then that would be silver iodide nuclei. We would be cooling things. They have 3 grades. I'm going to say this again. They have 3 grades of silver iodide nuclei in a military structure. I'm just going to list the actual military grade, which is 0 to minus 47 degrees in 20 minutes by spraying silver iodide nuclei, like the 3rd grade, I guess that's what you would call it. If you spray the stuff in the atmosphere, you can just kind of trigger it with a frequency and cool those nanoparticulates to a degree where you freeze everything that's in the atmosphere. This isn't, I'm not trying to be all freaky, this is the science experiment we're actually being caught up under. And thanks a lot to a lot of agreements that have already been made between countries. And I do want to mention we're going to have Jolie Diane on today. She is doing an amazing job down in the United States, along with a few others. Terry Lawton and Alexandra May Hunter. They are presenting a state resolution to ban geoengineering in the United States, and we want to get that going up in Canada here too. I mean, there's 10 times more of the population in the United States, and it's great that they're doing that now. And I'd say that we need to do this in Canada big time. So today's program is going to be, and she'll be on we're going to be calling her about 1:15, about 10 minutes we'll be talking to her. And we will be running down all sorts of stuff and phone numbers that you can contact your local environmental departments. We did this before, but we're going and doing it again. We have a more extensive list provincially, so we'll have numbers for British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland, and St. John's, and Halifax. All you guys across the world, across the continent of Canada and the United States, will be given numbers today to do direct action, because that's where we're at. We need to be at direct action It's cool to post and take pictures of chemtrails and spraying the atmosphere to show your friends and stuff, but the biggest thing is being directly active. We need to call these numbers that we're going to be listing today. So I want everyone right now that's listening to get a pencil or pen, get that ready for this broadcast. I want you to, once we list the provincial numbers, I'm going to want you to write that down and take direct action. We don't have another choice. We really don't. But the good news is that they're using terms like climate engineering, geoengineering, solar radiation management, solar radiation injection. There's all sorts of different terms that are already being used in the terminology that is our back door really to holding these nefarious programs accountable for what they're doing. And we're going to try our darndest best today to get those numbers out to you and do whatever we can. So for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to be talking about the agreement between Canada and the United States of America relating to the exchange of information on weather modification activities. Now I know for frequent listeners, you probably already have said in your mind, hey, you already went through that. And the reason why I'm going through it again is not the whole document, but just one part that I want everyone to be clear about. There is an agreement that, I'll just read it here, okay? It's in Article 1 of the Agreement between Canada and the United States of America relating to the exchange of information on weather modification activities. And they're not just doing weather modification stuff, so we're not just talking about, damage of floods or rain or wind or anything like that. It's more or less, invasive in our species and killing our chance to grow food. Meanwhile, literally changing our insides while we're not even knowing this is all going on. Now, there's an agreement made that all the damages that are caused from all of this nefariousness has to be agreed upon. So can you imagine? Doesn't matter if we get neurological diseases and we're all in the doctor's office trying to figure out what the heck's going on with our bodies, and they're just spraying in their atmosphere. But I'm just going to read this. Article 1, as used in this agreement. Number 1, weather modification activities. And I'm going to tell you, we're in Canada right now, and we are the last chance in Canada to change this around. I'm just letting you know that before I go through this. We have a lot of people in the old boys club that are desperately trying really hard to weasel us into another century. And I just want to say Canada and Europe are really trying hard to pretend that none of the spraying's going on. And we need to come really, really hard and let them know that Canada, even though we're under a British rule or whatever you want to call it, we do request our sovereignty in the matter. So if we want to protect ourselves, we should be able to. But I'm going to read this. Article 1, I apologize, I kind of digress a lot. Weather modification activities means activities performed with the intention of producing artificial changes in the composition, behavior, or dynamics of the atmosphere. Okay, now that's even our health and all sorts of stuff because that goes in our bodies. Number 2, this is the one that I want you to really listen to, because this gives all of the nations the red light to just go ahead and do these operations, and they all agree to the damages ensued. So here we go. Number 2, weather modification activities of mutual interest means weather modification activities carried out in or over the territory of a party within 200 miles of the international boundary. Okay, within 200 miles of the international boundary. Now, can you imagine? Most of the states are, pretty much about that to the center would be about that much. From 200 miles from, any coast into where I live, we're covered there. I mean, we're 200 miles there. All of southern Ontario is within 200 miles. So that means that all of the illnesses and all of the damages that are caused from an ecosystem and the flux of nanoparticulate in our body is actually agreed upon already. Now you can go and check this out on Google if you want. Agreement between Canada and the United States of America relating to the exchange of information on weather modification activities. They've already agreed upon 200 miles within, no matter what happens with these science experiments. They've agreed to just go along to get along while we're all ailing and trying to defend ourselves from this nanoparticulate and all sorts of things. Oh boy, So anyway, what I wanted to get back to is today and this last week would have been all blue sky. I mentioned on Facebook today, we would have had an entirely blue sky week this week if it was not for the spraying of our atmosphere. You know, so the Waterloo region, again, you're looking at a sky that's been entirely dispersed upon, like someone that's drunk and has a full case of beer ready to spill it and lose their balance and smash it all over the place. And after they smash it, look at it, they go, oh, okay, geez, too bad I didn't get any of those there. That's what kind of like what they're doing to our atmosphere. They're kind of like drunk at the wheel. They're honestly kind of going for this, you know, this Twilight Zone effect of let's just have more, you know, importance and power over everybody else to make these decisions. And yeah, sure, let's just weasel the whole public using our media and we'll totally make up a facade of global warming and climate change when it is all geoengineering operations. And I want to say period, that's Dane Wigington's trademark, and not really his trademark, but on radio on this topic it is. But I want to say just out off the blue while I got it in my head here, I want to say thank you to everybody out there. I don't care who you are, anyone that has come together to raise awareness on the subject, you're friends with me. I don't care. I know there's a lot of people out there and a lot of things going on that's literally causing a lot of opposition of trust. Now, we just got to keep together and as a team and a unit and don't let this division stuff rule us over. Now, there is some real interesting developments happening all across the globe, which is putting even the Secret Service and even, you know, little private operations kind of at a halt. Apparently, ISIS is already on American ground and Canadian ground, and they're just sitting ducks now because of the outcome of the election. Everything that Donald Trump is imposing, even before he comes in, is actually incredible. All the things that are happening already have already freed my mind so many different ways, but we'll see. Because, you know, having Mike Pence as his, like I'm going to say too, I heard Jesse Ventura talk, you know, I'm not going to believe everything everyone says in their opinion, but he did mention that Mike Pence being his running mate, you know, was kind of a weird thing. And it was a weird thing for me too, because I thought, here we go, there's the Navy establishment, the military industrial complex establishment right under his wing. And but I believe that even the most crooked families can grow and say, look, Dad, we don't really want to do that. You know, come on, like, you know, and so this is where we're at. You know, it's kind of an interesting time that we are definitely at. And so I just put my guitar in my case. I end up forgetting to do that sometimes, it gets in my way. So I do want to say thank you for listening to Covert Reality. This is Waterloo 100.3 Sound FM, CKMS. And again, I do want to thank Jolie Diane for wanting to be on the program today. Well, it's not that she wanted to be, I asked her, and she wants, you know, we want to get the word out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be calling her right now live on air like I usually do. And I'm just going to get things set up here. So let's see if we can pull this off. And we're just going to call her now. So she'll be excited to know that she'll be getting her phone ringing there. I know that I'd be excited. It'd be kind of like, it's a little freaky, you know, to know that your phone's going to ring like right now. Okay, here we go. Is it going to ring? Yes, it's going to ring. Okay, we're going to put these. We're calling Jolie Diane live on Covert Reality, and we're going to get to the bottom of this banning Geoengineering.
Hey, Chad.
Hey, right on. I'm so glad to be talking to you. This is Jolie Diane, the most amazing, you know, fighter against to bring about ways to actually defeat this geoengineering program that we're all held under. Thank you for being on Covert Reality again. Really excited to hear your voice.
Well, it's my pleasure, Chad, and thank you for all your tremendous work with your billboards and, you know, just amazing nonstop outreach and, you know, good energy.
Oh, it's amazing too. I appreciate that. Very much so, and yourself. And it's interesting for the people that do know the you know, the extent to what we're facing. I don't think anyone in their right mind can not care. And that's what I find is very challenging, is that you see a lot of people that seem to be a little late on that ball, but knowing that there's you and many others out there, keep us all going in this fight. So I want to thank you again for being on the program. And we're going to be talking about a lot of things today. More or less, what I want to start out with is to just give you the floor on What's been going on with your, just to try to open up as an introduction with the listeners here on some of the steps? I know we talked a little bit about this before, but I know you have come together with Alexandra Mayhunter and Terry Lawton and yourself. We're literally introducing legislation or a state resolution to ban geoengineering. Could you give our audience a little bit of description on that?
Oh, of course, I'd be glad to. Alexander Mayhunter and Terry Lawton, Max Bliss, Patrick Roddy, as you know, were just key activists that went to the climate conference last year in Paris, 2015 in July. And because of them and their due diligence, the geoengineering issue got introduced into the matrix, if you will.
Right.
And I was just, at that time, just kind of studying and learning about geoengineering and just tried to learn as much as I can from these activists. And I ended up calling Rosalind Peterson and just trying to speak with the people who had taken the next step, which I think is addressing the law aspect of this.
Right.
And there's so much that I could go on about like what you were saying about the great activists, and I'm just so grateful. Another one is Kate Willens, has just been like a really great presence in our world, in our activist community. Just, so there's so many people that have been putting the word out. And anyway, I was looking to see who was doing the legal stuff, and I noticed that Alexander Mayhunter had put the state of Arizona on notice.
Oh. Nice.
She's an environmental law specialist.
Oh.
And you can go check her out. Bye Bye Blue Sky from, our dear Suzanne Marr. You can go check that out and find out more about Alexander and what she's doing. But I connected with her, and I realized that if we wanted to take this down, we had to find out what was happening with policy. And so this last year and a half or so has just been about finding out what is the policy, if we have one, and what is it.
Right.
And so it's been a real education in the use of language and trying to understand how these things are framed. And it's been just an excellent opportunity to connect with people that actually do know, like I said,
right.
I've mentioned. So what we're doing here in the United States is we're approaching this from a state sovereignty level, which means that we know the programs are happening internationally. We see all the documents, and it's I put this website together, Zero Geoengineering, just to kind of support this process of the legislative process, so people would have access to documents and articles and just things that would be relevant to them, and just putting this stuff together. And
that's great.
Yeah, and so it's different for each state. And so we're working right now in California and Maryland on these state resolutions, and what it entails is it's kind of a different muscle than I had originally started with, because at first I was like, gosh, we've got to get these legislators to tune in. What's wrong with that?
Right.
Can't they look up and see? For Christ's sake, don't they have kids of their own, and just going on? Right, and then what I realized is when we had a meeting with the Department of the Environment last April in Maryland, we gave the whole kind of education to several people at the Department of the Environment. And, at the end of the meeting, the deputy governor was like, well, I agree with everything you say, and I'm so thankful for your time, but to be honest with you, there's nothing I can do.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what? You're the Department of the Environment.
Right.
You're supposed to protect us. What do you mean? He's like, no, that's not what I mean. He's like, the way that it works is I need a bill to sign. He said, if I had a bill or something that I could sign, then I would do it.
Oh.
But I can't just, he's like, but I can't, there's no money for me to go investigate this.
That's exciting.
A lab test right here. He's like, there's nothing the state's going to do. So then I learned, okay, there's nothing the state's going to do. So what do we do? But he gave us the answer. He says, if I had legislation.
Yes, yes.
So then I said so then I started studying and trying to look at the documents, and I, got connected with Alexander May Hunter, and she drafted a specific document for Maryland. And then, so now the process is, I can't just go and take it into the governor's office. No, it has to be introduced through the legislature of Maryland. And so that's where we go real local. And I've had a couple meetings with delegates here in Maryland.
Oh, fabulous.
And what I have to do is get them to see that this is their resolution, because what it is it's a health and safety bill.
Yes.
To protect the environment, to protect air and water quality.
Beautiful.
I don't even really go near the geoengineering issue other than to give them all the evidence of the weather modification, the rain tests. I mean, I just, we're trying to stay by the book.
Right.
Approach this like really legally as it's, collecting just more data for our archives. So at any rate, I had a great meeting with one of the delegates who, here in Maryland, they did just recently introduce legislation and passed it, by the way, to protect bees from pesticides.
Oh, great.
So we're in a good situation here,
Yes.
in addition to the fact that we have a new administration that will be coming in that, is not bought into the whole Agenda 21 and the whole,
Right.
Climate change marketing. And that's not to say that, because I, like most of us, we want to protect the environment.
Right.
And that's very important, and we can get into debating on if I believe in climate change, do I not believe in global warming. That's not the point. We need to clean up pollution, not be fighting about terms,
Exactly.
And so, anyways, very, very good meeting with the delegate, legislative person at the office there, and we had a long meeting. I was able to go through some of our documents, but basically I handed him the resolution that we have drafted, which basically means that if they're interested, and it usually takes a few delegates to introduce it into the legislature, then that will be a great milestone. It would be a great step forward. And again, we're just, this is just taking steps. It's not, this avenue is a good one, and it's just in addition to all the other great work that everyone is doing. I mean, there's not going to be one person or one thing. It's going to be the group of us that's like, hey, you know what? It's time to clean this up.
Get
with it, and maybe our parents didn't know about weather modification, and that, maybe they didn't know, and it's not their fault. See, this has been going on so long, no one even, we take it for granted.
Exactly.
If you're not over 30, then you think maybe that lines in the sky are totally normal and pollution is totally fine.
Right. And
not the case.
Exactly. And you learn that, ever since, after Second World War, it seems that the military-industrial complex is just literally using technology against us in every single form to keep themselves funded and afloat. And the only way they can do that is by literally deceiving you, keeping you totally in the dark. And that's what they've been doing to our poor parents, and our grandparents would know a little bit about the weather modification. But yeah, they definitely have played with our heads using the media. And it's nice to see us getting our grips back on that, by the way, which is really nice. And I'm glad the administration's changing there, because when U.S. foreign policy changes that drastically, we know we're going to get a trickle effect up here in Canada. And it just takes people all around like yourself and many others to, really, really let everyone, let them know, and just to wake up the public enough will change everything. It's always the game changer when the public understands what's going on, and even if they don't understand, they're still being led in by some way where they're getting, someone's making money off of them in a nefarious way, and this is just the same thing over and over again. But this is so far gone, how far they went, that you're right, we need to take absolute direct action on this. And like I mentioned earlier in the program, it's just, it's good to take pictures, tell your friends and stuff, but when and you're keeping your eye on the ball and who are the big players here, We put together, like Dominic Marama putting, I think that's his last name, Marama. He put together this beautiful thing, and I thought it was across Canada, but I realized that I'm kind of glad it's not, because it's really focusing on Alberta, where a lot of these policies, and in Waterloo here too. I find any university that David Keith has spoken to or is involved with, they're all affiliated with the same thing. But I do want to take, if you don't mind, I just want to take a few, like maybe 5 minutes here. I'm going to go through some phone numbers. So these are phone numbers actually from the province of Alberta. Now it's important that we mention the phone numbers of environmental agencies in Alberta, because David Keith, I think, resides in Alberta. I'm not quite sure if that's a fact. I do hear that, some people say Paul Joseph Watson last week said that he's from Harvard, but he's not from Harvard. He does go all over the place in different universities, but we're quite sure that he's pretty much based up here in Calgary. So here are some phone numbers, and everyone get their pen and or pencil or marker, whatever you got, or scratch it into your arm or whatever you can. This is very important. This is where we actually all become frontliners in this secret war, really, that's happening around us. And the way that we can fight back in this modern warfare kind of way is to make phone calls and let our legislative bodies know that we know that they're spraying, and what are they going to do about it. This is one way we can start to actually let them know that people are waking up. So what I'm going to do is give these phone numbers out here, and I'm just going to give a few just to cover, enough so people can go and have fun with that and be your warrior self and really let it rip, because we're all depending on each other here to pull us out of this carbon taxation nightmare. And I feel we're going to get there. So, and by calling these numbers, we can start to do that. And right here, I'm going to list off the Legislative Assembly of Alberta. Now this is the Honorable Shannon Phillips. Okay, her email is lethbridge.west@assembly.ab.ca. I'm going to say it again. Lethbridge is LETHBRIDGE .west, WEST, at assembly.ab.ca. That is the email address. Please do your best. Give your good passion. Be straight to the point, and let them know that we know that geoengineering operations are going on and have been going on already. And just to let them know is fine enough for the people that don't know much about the situation but do know we're being sprayed. Here's the phone number, the legislative for the legislature office, and this is the Legislative Office of Alberta for the Environment. It is 1-780-427-2391. So anyone out in Alberta there, please get this phone number down. Anyone across Canada, please get this phone number down. I'm going to say it again. Legislative Office for Alberta, 1-780-427-2391. And then there's a constituency office, is 1-403-329-4644. I do want to stick with the most prominent numbers. The 1-780-427-2391 is the main number to call for Alberta, for your legislative office. Now, what I want to do is also give a few other phone numbers out, and this will be Health Canada General Inquiries. This is a very, very good tool to use, because they're actually putting out there, like general inquiries. You got a question? Here you go. Here's a phone number to ask the question. Now the email, well, here's the phone number first. Telephone, toll free, 1-866, okay, 1-866-225-0709. That's a toll-free number for Health Canada General Inquiries, 1-866-225-0709. For those that do not have a phone, the email is info@hc-sc.gc.ca. Again, the email for Health Canada General Inquiries is info@hc-sc.gc.ca. Now I know we're in the internet world where we're saying a lot of dots and slashes and stuff, but that's the way it is. hopefully you got those numbers down, and there's all sorts of different numbers as well. You can go to my Facebook page is Chad Casarin. My last name is Casarin, first name Chad. Find me on Facebook, or go to Covert Reality on Facebook, or to what was it, Geoengineering.com? Is that
Zero Geoengineering.
Okay, so now Jolie Diane has put together this great site called Geoengineering.com, and please visit that. Please visit ByeByeBlueSky.com for billboard campaigning. That's a very big tool, huge tool, and if people that don't know much about the subject can easily donate to those billboards, and they're going up all over the place. I do want to thank you, Jolie, for your patience, me going through the numbers, and I want to thank you for mentioning the billboard here that just went up last week for the Mohawk territory. That was a big, massive accomplishment for a couple of reasons, because the Mohawks are actually, we're almost at a jeopardized state there where they're trying to have their history kind of evaporated, and we're not going to let that happen. So it's a very big stand that we're making, as the Mohawks seem to be the only Indian tribe that I know of that ever came out and said, we want to know more about chemtrails. So it was really a really great honor to get that board up, and any other board that's going on up, like in Toronto or Michigan or wherever. Congratulations to you for doing that. So back with Jolie Diane here on Covert Reality. Just want to say thank you again for doing what you do, and I wanted to ask you something too. Have you worked with Michael J. Murphy at all? Because I mentioned this before, that I really wanted to have him on the program.
I actually did. I worked with him for a while, and as a volunteer doing some graphic design. As I said, after I saw all the activists from Paris last year, I was really like, wow, what can I do? And so I did some work with him as far as when he was working on his film, The Unconventional Gray. And then as far as I knew, he had some personal problems, and just I haven't heard from him. And so I've just been, keeping him in prayer and hope to find his way back. But he did some incredible work.
Right.
And we have all been lucky and fortunate.
I love that guy.
Find that to get us, many of us, onto the road of stopping these programs. And I also wanted to mention about your billboards and the Native Americans, because it's so important, all our relations, we're all connected and everything by the air. And we all know from the Dakota Access Pipeline, trying to stop that there's a big focus on protecting the water. And I want to make the connection of protecting the air with protecting the water, because as we know from science, most of the air is water vapor.
Right.
And so we have to protect that. It's all connected, and that's one element that we just kind of don't see. It is invisible.
I'm glad you brought that up.
But it's so important to look at that as we're water protectors too.
Right.
Because whatever's going into our sky is being absorbed.
Right.
And just the nature and the web of life is so fragile that we can never allow geoengineering or any of this weather modification to continue to damage what we love so much. And so when people call up, I'm so glad that you gave out those numbers that Dominic put together. When people call up, they can say, we want to ban on weather modification. And the reason that I say that is because I've just dug through a little bit this morning, and I found weather modification programs in Canada connecting with the cloud seeding.
Right.
And so do you want to know what's going on in the sky? Go onto the internet and find out just cloud seeding Canada.
Yeah, Canada.
This is happening 2016.
It's unbelievable how. Yeah.
So that's the whole way that they've been framing this, to make it impossible for us to confront and shut down the programs, because no one's asking for them to shut down weather modification and geoengineering, and that's what we're doing. Because it's like you said, after you take the pictures, which is vital, and the video, and you're handing out the flyers, it's this is the next step. This is another step we can take. There's other people that are also placing lawsuits. You know, there's other avenues, but this is one. And when people call in, I mean, you know, it's the best thing in the world when they hear a human voice on the other end say, I want to clean up this air pollution and we need to ban geoengineering, cloud seeding, weather modification.
Right.
Then they have to deal with the implications of the fact that they've been doing these programs
right.
Without permission. And I just wanted to underline that just with the treaty that you told me about this morning, the agreement between Canada and the United States
right.
around weather modification. And they're pretty, okay, yeah, this is it. Nothing herein relates to or shall be construed to affect the question of responsibility or liability for weather modification activities, or to imply the existence of any generally applicable rule of international law. Okay, that's from the regulations from agreement between Canada and the United States of America relating to the exchange of information on weather modification activities. So basically what they're saying is, you know, we're not responsible,
Right.
not our fault, and there's no law about it.
Right.
So we didn't do anything wrong. So that's the way they've been able to avoid liability and responsibility, because we haven't gone after the vulnerability, which is the weather modification documentation from 80 years now.
Right.
And I also wanted to go back to just from 1965 in Quebec, Operation Umbrella was mounted, and mothers petitioned the Quebec government for vitamins for their children because of lack of sunshine.
Right.
So in 1965, the Quebec Minister of Natural Resources ordered all rain-making activities in the province to cease.
Wow.
So
That's
I
amazing.
posted that on my page, and I think I tagged you in it, but that's from weather modification in Canada, just the history, it's the encyclopedia, and it's on the internet. So, I mean, in the history that we look at, that's the key.
Right.
To liberate ourselves. And I see that we're doing it, and I'm completely confident that if we just continue to raise the level of awareness, we will be successful.
Exactly. Yes, I do too. And this direct action thing is very exciting. I remember back in the day, like I woke up to this about 2006. I remember 2007, I started calling Environment Canada, my local environment agencies, and it felt very empowering. Very empowering. And I was just trying to tell everyone else then, like, wow, everybody called, we would have this stop, no problem. Like, it's just that, you know, there's just only a few people that I guess get it and understand it enough that actually go and do it. It's only one person, but if we get enough people calling, it'd be great. I do want to list off one more phone number here from this great list. And this is an important number, I really find. That we should be calling, because it's the kind of the step up from the legislative sides. It's more or less getting towards where the real action is being taken place. What I want to do is give the number to the National Defence and Canadian Forces Ombudsman. So if everyone wants to write this down, I'm going to tell you that you will be doing the most service of your country if you write this phone number down and you take action at this way. You will feel gratified inside, and that feeling is so incredibly important right now, because it's when we rub off this feeling and this resonation, we will grow to literally knock out all this craziness. So please write this number down for the National Defence and Canadian Forces Ombudsman, toll free 1-888-828-3626. Again, toll free 1-888-828-3626. That's from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday to Friday. Now their email, for people that don't have a phone, this is for the National Defence and Canadian Forces Ombudsman, info@hc-sc.gc.ca. Again, for the National Defence and Canadian Forces Ombudsman to email that office, info@hc-sc.gc.ca. Again, so take that into your own power and become your own warrior and help us here, because Canada, I've always thought and felt, was a place where they lure all the goodness and then they trap us under this smart meter program, cell towers, and they set us up and spray us and control us like worker bees, because in Ontario, we are literally totally oppressed. We have the highest tax, we have the highest everything, and all of our energy and administrational environmentalists are all laughing in our face. And it's so obvious how they feel they're getting away, and they're so much higher up from the public, and the public's sleeping. We're not going to allow them to get away with this. We're not going to allow them to. So, people like Jolie Diane and Suzanne Marr and Amanda Danielle and there's so many more out there, like Max Bliss, Terry Lawton, anyone. I'm going to just say anyone that cares about getting this spraying stopped, and getting the legislative bodies used to having us nudging them, saying, look, we're all being sprayed, so you're going to stop, game over. Because it is game over. We have to make sure that we stop this nefarious game that they're doing, and we will do that. I'm quite confident of that, more than ever, actually. So.
Oh, definitely, and I think you're right about the change in administration here. I think it's going to be a great opportunity, and definitely as far as our approach goes, because we all notice this. We're used to fighting against things, but what if we worked for what we wanted? So instead of fighting against what we don't want, because what I've seen is, I'm gonna fight against the new president. Well, that's counterproductive, because then you're not getting any of your demands met.
Great point.
So, and then that's playing into it. And I feel like we've been kind of, we need to mature a little bit, and especially in terms of our activism, because I've been involved in several different kind of activities on the activism front, and one of them was with the Peace Alliance years ago. And they were good because they knew that you have to get into Congress, you have to get into these offices and get in the game.
Right. We're not messing around, that's for sure.
The program, whatever it is in the government, okay, it's terrible. But that's why we need to show up, because the people are beautiful and decent.
Right.
They will make it right.
Right.
And without us, it will just be what it is, which is significantly below average.
Right. And
what we can do is take it to the next level, and the next level of activism, not as complaining, but going and offering, here is the legislation. And so that's another step that people can take in addition to getting, your rain tested, collecting the documents that we have on Zero Geoengineering, and there are many places to get the documents. You can get them. You can get, we can maybe find out if there are some law students there in Canada, for example, and see if you can connect with some of the students there that would be interested in looking at this legislation.
Right. See, that's my next step right now.
These programs are, they are being decided on in the universities, not by people who are electing other people to represent them, but universities where, the cash is flowing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I do have a lawyer friend that is well aware of this. He was actually he was the host of Westminster Radio that had me on talking about weather modification quite a bit.
Cool.
So I have him, and we're working. Our next step is actually going to try to find someone that's the biggest thing I find. Like, trying to find a lawyer is one thing, but trying to find someone that's going to be open and as passionately heartfelt about it is another thing. So that's why we're lucky to have Alexandra May Hunter.
Yes.
Oh wow.
The thing about it is there are people there in that activist community in Canada, and they'll be woken up, and we don't want to wait. We don't want to wait for the government to write up a new legislation for us or get interested in our cause. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, we don't have time for that.
What will happen is we do already have the energy and the people and the understanding that's needed to to take the next steps. And I do think that, if you reach out to people, the young people in the universities that are studying law, surely there must be some that, are interested in breathing for the long term as well. And,
right.
To just, because that's what one of the things we're trying to do as Civilian Action Team and Geoengineering is connect the legislative dots
right.
for specific states and regions. And that's hard to do because, whatever's like the way that they run things here in the U.S. is not how they do it in Canada.
Right.
And that's another reason that we're totally doing it local and going to the most local level that we can and saying, hey, these programs are going on internationally and you don't have any input. Now that's the angle we're taking because
right.
that's the truth.
Right, and that's beautiful.
And that's why we had such good meetings with the delegates but they can't operate outside of the context of the law. And that's what we're trying to do is just get into the game
right.
and get the law in there that we want. And, start from somewhere. I mean,
right.
I have no idea. I just know that I'm not going to sit in my house and cry about it.
Right. Exactly. And this is
not an option.
This is I've always looked at it like everyone on this planet has a choice. And no matter where you're from, it doesn't matter where you're from. You might feel like, oh, you can't change the world with that, and I'm not like that. I know a lot of people are definitely different than that. They feel like you can. Now, this is a way that I've always felt like it's a little bit easier to, not pretend, but actually get in your mind that you can change the world. I always picture this, a steering wheel for every single place. There's a steering wheel. It's up to you to either look at the steering wheel or be in the same room as the steering wheel, or to actually put your hand on the steering wheel of the actual vessel that you're in. And if you're on a vessel or you call it a life or whatever your life surrounding is, you have a choice to either have your hand on the steering wheel to where your life's going or to not have your hand on it. But at least be in the room looking at the steering wheel. And there's a lot of people that aren't even in that same room looking at the steering wheel. They're actually downstairs. They're at the bottom of the boat. They're not even caring. And so we need more people up in that top level there putting their hands on the steering wheel and believing that they can all do that. And it's just simple as finding out who's running, controlling the planet, who's controlling your oppression, finding out those names, giving them a call from a heartfelt person like yourself. I know all the listeners out here are caring individuals. I know that even, a tainted system can make a good person into kind of a nefarious person. But even you yourself, you were lured into that because of a crappy system. We need to actually get our hands on the steering wheel of this vessel that we want this world to go, and there's enough room on the steering wheel for everyone's hands. I just want to make that point.
That's a great point. I love that analogy too.
Because people don't think they have the choice. They don't have it, but they're in the room. We all have that. We can just go and call whoever we need to call. We can do whatever we need to do. We're all here right now. At the same time, we're live. We give the resonation of pure love and just peace and like the two-row wampum is the way the Mohawks their language is, where there's two lines, and this is a great way to kind of curtail the program. Not right away. We're not ending right away, but what I love about the two-row wampum is that it's just a tradition of understanding of where you don't mess with anybody else at all. Two-row wampum means two lines run alongside each other, but they never cross. They never ever cross. They never cross. They might come a little close, but they never touch. Those lines never touch. We work alongside each other. We never hurt each other. We never cross each other's boundary. And we just keep being respectful, working alongside each other. Even in groups, we never cross those lines. And I just want to say that it's beautiful to me, what is happening. And being able to have the opportunity to have you on this program, Jolie, is absolutely incredible to me. I just want to say that loud and clear. I'm a little blown away by how incredible you are. I really mean this. It keeps me alive. Like my new family is you and Suzanne and all the people at Geoengineering Awareness Group Canada. Like anyone that cares about the planet are my new family. So I just want to thank you very, very much for doing what you do. and we're going to keep doing what we're doing. So we're just trying to hope that other people can feel that empowerment as well, and to stop these nefarious geoengineering programs, climate engineering or solar radiation management or solar radiation injection. You can have all these different names, and these are the backdoor names that we will be able to bite them in the butt. So keep going at what you're doing. I'm so excited, Jolie, about what you had done in Maryland there, and I was really excited about what the fellow said in response, where he agreed. He just said, "You know what? You're right." This is really not good, and it is causing problems. I can't obviously recite what he said, but I know that he was definitely kind of like someone going, "Yeah, okay, you know what? You're right. It's not feasible, and we shouldn't do it."
Yeah, and the thing is, these people have been at this for years, and again, since we haven't taken them on with the terms that catch them with the crime, we've been able to avoid it.
Right.
And so the last meeting that I had, the gentleman was really, really nice, and he took like over an hour to talk with me and look through the information and the documents, and he said, I'm sorry that, at the beginning I was kind of vetting you because honestly I've been doing this for years, and I kind of just tossed people out in 5-10 minutes.
Oh, that's great.
And because I didn't use any of the terms that are associated with any sort of conspiracy, he was able to listen to my information, and I was able to provide him with just the facts.
Right.
No speculation.
Beautiful.
No opinion. And this is just, something that we can all do. I mean, anyone can do this, and it's going to take all of us. Again, like you said before, it can't be just one person or two people calling. Can you imagine if everyone that went to the Super Bowl would pick up the phone and say, "Stop geoengineering and weather models"?
I'm so glad you just said that.
And that's the position that we're in. Everyone the phone. Now, come on, we're all breathing this air. Yeah. It's not, and they've made people that, this is the interesting thing that they've done, and this is about the use of language, the effective use of language to shut down people from framing, but they're able to keep people distracted.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, it's going to take all of us, and it's because of everyone that we've been able to get some focused public awareness on this issue. And the way I've been trying to approach it is the same way that other successful campaigns, for example, with GMOs or fracking or fossil fuels, they gather focused public awareness. And that's the key. And that's why, that's why taking pictures, and that's why passing out flyers and our billboards and everything is so important, because it's the use of information, factual information, that's going to help people understand, because weather modification is so far out and it's so advanced technology that we have no idea about, if we're just regular people walking around. So it's great to be able to bring people's attention to it and then say, then what?
Right.
What's the next
step? Yes.
What can I do? Because it's very empowering, like you said, to pick up the phone and say, look, I'm concerned about Canada. I love Canada. I want our air to be clean. I want our water clean. And then get involved in what are the steps. Everyone will learn what the steps are by going through the motions. And it might not be your thing to go visit the offices, but you can pick up the phone.
Right. And
pretty soon we're going to have a place where you can on Zero Geoengineering, where you can send a letter to your rep, and then we hope to mirror that for each different country. So far we have connections with Canada and the UK in terms of legislative policy, but that's what we're learning about. We're learning how to get into every different country, their kind of state-specific policy, and try to get in there. Just get in the game. Like, we don't know, exactly, how it's all going to work. We're going to just show up. That's the main thing, right? We're going to just show up.
Yes.
Give it all our heart and soul.
We're gonna take this down. That could have been any more beautifully said, Jolie Diane. Again, if you want to check out Jolie Diane's work, please www.zerogeoengineering.com. Please visit that. Please visit byebyebluesky.com too. But I just want to I want to thank you and welcome you anytime back to the program. Just want to say thank you very much, Jolie Diane, for being on the program again. And I will be talking to you again and working along with you as soon as I get off the phone, like we do every week. So I want to say thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. I know my audience here has just loved this show, and so did I. It's going to be one of my best shows. It'll be up online soon. So we do want to say thank you, Jolie, for being here, and keep doing everything you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. Right back at you.
Right on.
Big
sister.
hugs.
Okay, big hugs. All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that was Jolie Diane. Wow, that was a really great program, and it still is. I'm still here. So this is really amazing. Hopefully you were able to get a huge stomach full and mind full out of that program, because we got to say, the thing that's going to keep the evil and bullies away are the people with the good hearts that are watching what they're doing. And it's not just about watching what they're doing, it's about kind of just reading documents, and then that can cut a lot of corners. So what you want to do is, if you want to stop geoengineering or climate engineering, all you need to do is do a little bit of research, find out the PDFs of documents and phone numbers, and start calling those phone numbers. We gave out a bunch of phone numbers today and some emails. Again, I do want to entirely thank everybody out there, including Jolie Diane, for doing what they do, because it provides a pillow of comfort in my day, in my life. And again, I'm going to say, this whole week has been sprayed. Your atmosphere has been sprayed all week in Southern Ontario. What you're looking at right now is a massive haze. It is really hot out today, plus 25 is what they were calling. And it's not about real weather. They're spraying this hot weather into our system, which is totally unnatural for November. A lot of people think it's actually really great that they're out there and soaking in it, jogging in it. What bugs me the most is people at the schools, they're all out there in their football uniforms, or they're running around the field on the most craziest spray days. And the amount of cell towers out there is ridiculous. We're going to catch up to all you guys, all you mad scientists and environmentalists that were trying to literally weasel us to make us believe that we're the ones causing weather modification enough for you guys to try to impose a very, deceptive nanoparticulate dispersal program that you've already been doing is beyond comprehension for most people. Even just to say that was a little bit of a tongue twister. But I do want to say thank you to all my listeners. We will be back with you next week, next Friday, every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. This is Waterloo 100.3 Sound FM. This is Covert Reality. I'm Chad Kazran. We will see you next week. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.